Welcome back to Coding Games in Python. In this video we'll talk about keyboard inputs. So last time we saw that onDraw and onUpdate allow us to draw the objects and then update them to simulate animation. These method runs automatically 60 times a second. Today we'll talk about onKeyPress and onKeyRelease. These are two methods that are called as the key events occur. If someone presses a key, then the onKeyPress is called. If you release that key, then onKeyRelease is called. The methods onKeyPress and onKeyRelease are called again whenever a key on the keyboard is pressed or released respectively. Now, one thing that's very important to understand is that these events are not affected by key repeat. In other words, if it's only called once, even if the key is pressed and then held down. So this is very important as we're trying to write code that can properly handle these events. So make sure you really understand that point. As soon as the key is released, then onKeyRelease is called. And so notice that onKeyPress and onKeyRelease has an argument. Well, let's focus on the key argument. And so the key argument is an integer that represents a virtual key code. Now it does not represent any particular numbering scheme. So for example, these key symbols are meant to be hardware and platform independent, and so and they are defined in the rk.key module as constants. So here's some common keys that we can use. So rk.key.up, capitalize UP, rk.key.down, left and right. These allow us to represent the keys, the arrow keys that we have on the keyboard. And then to do all of the letter keys, then you can say rk.key.a, b, etc. If you go to the documentation for the RK library, you can see the other keys, but these are the main keys that we use for most of our games. And then the modifiers, we won't use this really at all in our in this course, but just for the sake of completeness, I'll clarify what this does. So the key modifiers such as Shift or Control or Alt are basically combined bitwise and allow us to kind of detect whether those keys are pressed. And so the way it works is that suppose that we want to detect to see if the Shift key is modified. So here's the code for this. So again, this is an example of a bitwise operation. And so the AND symbol here is a bitwise AND operator. And so if we were to want to check to see if the Shift key is pressed, we can the check is if modifiers and rk.key.modShift. So again, this modShift constant is defined in the rk.key module, and what we're doing here is that we checked in to see if if the Shift is pressed down, then this bitwise AND will return a non-zero number, and so therefore the if is true, and then we can do something here. But again, we won't bother too much with this, and so you're welcome to look at the following link for more information. So we're going to do a simple example of controlling the movement of a character in a top-down perspective game. And so these are the game where you're looking from the top, the ceiling of the game, and you see your character moving around different rooms. So let's kind of see how we can simulate that with our key inputs. So we're going to do an open folder here, and I already create a folder called KeyPress, and then let's open it. And again, I have a template here that kind of set this up. So the only difference here between this one and the previous one is that so in the previous one we have onDraw and update, but now we also have onKeyPress and onKeyRelease with the key and modifiers that we saw in the slides. Okay, so let's see how we can simulate some character movements. So let's create a variable. Let's do center X for the center. Let's put the character at the middle of the window. The character will have a Y position, and so again, width and height are the input for the constructor for this class. And then we're going to have just like we saw in the previous video, a change X that represent the horizontal velocity of a character. So let's make that 0 initially, so that initially this character is not moving. Okay, I think that should be enough for the character. We're gonna make our character be simply a square on the screen, and so we make that be a fixed square, so we won't have any variable for that. Okay, for drawing, we're gonna draw a square. So arcade dot draw rectangular fill, and so we'll enter in the center X, center Y, and then we also need the width and height. So let's make it 40 by 40. Let's make it a constant square, and we'll also need a color. So let's make it blue. So that's going to draw our character, which is a square for now. And then for update, we're going to make this move. And so the way we do that is we're going to say we're going to make the center X position. We're going to add to that the change X. So we're adding the change in X to the center X. And then we're going to do the same thing for center Y. I'm going to add change Y to the Y position. So notice that if we were to leave this alone, then this is not going to move, because this would draw our square, and then the update will keep adding change X, change Y, but initially those are 0. So initially this is running and we're animating our character, but we're not moving because the velocity is 0 in both directions. Now to make it move, we're gonna go to on key press, and to detect the key, the right key, we're gonna say if key is equal to arcade dot key dot, for example, let's do left. So in other words, if we press in the left arrow, then we're gonna change our change X to be, say, 5, negative 5 actually. So if we're pressing the left key, then we're going to change the horizontal velocity to be negative 5. So we're moving left. And then LF, our key is again rk.key.right. Then we're going to change our velocity to be positive 5, so going right. And then this will be the same thing for the other cases. So I'm gonna copy here, and paste, and say if I were to go up, then I'm gonna change the Y to be positive, and if I were to press the down arrow, then I'll make the change Y be negative 5. So what this does is that whenever you press any of these arrow keys, then the velocity will be in the direction that you want to move. And so this is how we're going to make the character move left, right, up, down. Now, well, how do you make it stop? Well, if I release that key, so if I press and hold down, remember the key thing is that this is called whenever a key is pressed, but it's only called once if when a key is pressed, even if it's held down. So if I press and hold down the left, then I want this to be negative 5, and as I'm holding down, this function will not be called again, and so we want the velocity to stay at negative 5 unless I release that key. And so here this is exactly the same thing as above, except that we're gonna, so let's go down here and copy and paste. So if I were to press left, then I'm gonna go left because my velocity is negative 5. But if I were to release the left key, then I want my change X to be back to 0 again. That way if I release it, it's now no longer moving in that direction. So we're basically making all this be 0. So if I press the key, then it'll move in that direction. If I release it, its velocity will be changed to 0, so it'll stop moving. So that's basically the logic for creating movement. So let's run this and see if that works. Okay, so here's our character. If I'm gonna press right, notice it's gonna go right. If I press left, if I let go, it stops. If I press up, it goes up. If I let go, it stops. If I press down, it goes down. I can also go in different direction. I can press multiple keys, and it's gonna correspond. It's gonna move according to my key press. So that's pretty simple, and that's how we do basic a character going. So again, this is top-down game, so we're looking from the ceiling down at our character. Okay, that's all I want to cover in this video. See you next time.